Welcome to Education in the Community. I am your host, the Reverend McKnight, and we have the grand privilege of having a guest in our program, Early Pioneers in Technology, one who was there in the beginning, Mr. Howard Smith, the CEO of Flickit. Welcome, Mr. Smith.
Thank you.
To Education
Thank
in
you.
the Community. And he's going to take us back, share some history with us of African Americans in the field of technology. Those of you who are longtime viewers will recall we talked to Mr. Roy Clay, and he gave us some of the history in terms of African Americans in the field of technology. And it just so happens that there is some history between Mr. Howard Smith and Mr. Roy Clay. And perhaps before the show is ended, we can get off into that. Again, welcome, Mr. Smith. I know you have
Thank
a
you.
very, very tight schedule. I want to thank you for taking time out to spend this hour with us. And let's just begin. You made some comments that in the 1950s, you were in Louisiana and you wanted to major in chemical engineering, which
Right.
was most unusual then, especially for African American males coming out of the South. And so you have always had an interest in some area of technology.
Yeah.
Tell us about that. How did you end up in Los Angeles at a community college there?
Well, I had, my first ambition was to be a chemical engineer. I ended up
Yes.
not getting my degree in that, but I was looking for a school that I could major in that was accredited in chemical engineering. In fact, the first school I wanted to go to was MIT.
Mm-hmm.
And to get in MIT, you had to be interviewed by an alum of the school.
Mm-hmm.
The alum of the school discovered I was a brother in Louisiana then and refused to interview me. And I didn't understand enough to know that I probably could have gone around him. So I said, well, if he won't talk to me, I'll go to a school that I can afford to go to. And with no money, I found LA City College in the school library at the time in Louisiana. And LA City College in Los Angeles City College, was accredited in engineering and all engineering disciplines for the first 2 years. And it only called the grand total of $6.50 to go to school there.
And that's for your student body card. But go ahead.
And that was for my student body card. In addition to that, they gave me a stipend to cover my books and a part-time job.
My
And the rest
Lord.
of it is history.
Yes.
That brought me to California.
Yes. And so after your tenure there at City College in Los Angeles, what next? What was next for you?
Yeah, let me go back a little bit. I didn't quite cover your question of why chemical engineering. And the reason I want to cover this, because for the audience, it's important to understand the significance of talking to students. I was a high school student in Louisiana, had never seen a black professional that was not a teacher or a doctor. I had a medical doctor. Other than that, all black professionals were primarily teachers. And they had a career day, and an engineer spoke at the school. Don't even know his name, and he doesn't even realize the impression he had on me. But when I listened to him talk, after he left, I decided that I was going to be an engineer.
Wow. Fantastic.
And made the decision then. Of course, I was 16, so it's easy to make those decisions. That's how I ended up. I was good, and go without saying, I was very good in technology and math and science and that kind of stuff. That was all I knew. And he gave me a way to get in those areas and not have to teach. Nothing wrong with teaching. In fact, I enjoy teaching even today. I do some of that. But that was not what I wanted as a primary career. And he opened the door, and he doesn't realize it today.
Wow.
He was the only engineer I saw that looked like me until I graduated from school.
My.
And I looked in the mirror.
Fascinating. 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 And so you spent some time there in Los Angeles. And so what happened upon completion of your academic objective there?
Yeah, I left. I went to LA City College. I eventually majored in math with a minor in physics and chemistry at the time. I always liked the technology stuff.
Now this was in the 50s.
Yeah, this was in the 50s. It was 1957. I was 16 years old when I started there, when I started school there. And I, after LA City, I went to LA State. And it's important for people to understand that I never went to any outstanding school, academic school in my life. I went to LA City, I went to LA State, I went to graduate school at San Jose State. Never paid more than $98 a semester to go to school.
Listen at that.
In my life.
Yes, yes.
And I graduated, and I graduated first at LA State, and I took a job for Lockheed. And while at Lockheed, I was going to graduate school at San Jose State, and I had an instructor named, I think his name was Michael Nakora at that time. Michael one day walked up to me and said, "Have you ever thought of working in research?" And I said, "No, not really." In fact, he said applied research. Make a long story short, I ended up going to work for him at IBM in applied research, and that's what got me into computers, into computer science in the early days. And I was in computer science starting about 1964 by the time I actually went to IBM. And I worked in IBM's research during that time.
And that's how early 60s.
That was in the early 60s. I was working at that time on the IBM 360. And it was a fascinating place for a young person like me to work for two reasons. One, and I don't mind saying this, it got me into the computer business, which is really important. The most important thing, though, is I realized I was as bright as everybody else. Wow. After working there and competing with other folks. And realizing, hey, you know, I know something, which I find is important to it, and it's been important during my whole career.
Boosted your sense of self-confidence.
Absolutely, absolutely. My self-confidence was too high then.
No, it's never too high.
I was a little bit on the arrogant side. I was a young kid, discovered, just found out I could compete with folks there. And it was interesting. One thing to cap it after that, there are a couple of experiences I should mention there. Well, let me mention the first one. I noticed, and right away, and I did not like it, but at that time, if you were a black person working anywhere like that, you were the only
one.
Only one, and I hate being the only one.
The first and the only.
And people refer to it. They also talked to me because they noticed I would go to the cafeteria and down at IBM in San Jose, and I would sit with a bunch of black employees. So one day, some well-meaning person said to me, Howard, you know, it appears that you're a little racist because you only sit with the black folks when you go down to San Jose. I didn't even know anybody had ever noticed that. That motivated me to help form a black employees organization down in San Jose. As a result of that conversation, I was so resistant and hated so much. But I was somewhat arrogant then, which kind of helped. I stayed there, wonderful career there, a great place to work, one of the greatest places to work for somebody in technology. Mm-hmm. I left there and I went to, the significance of helping me to realize I could compete. There was a guy, I was working on a joint project with some people in another company that I don't want to mention. And one of the people there decided to break away and form a company, a high-tech company. And of all the people he approached there, he approached me and 3 other people. And I said, my God, you know, there were people that I looked up to he didn't approach.
And he approached you.
And he approached me. And I never understood why. Maybe, if nothing else, I know I was a hard worker and I did a lot of the work that on this joint project with him. But he approached me, and that said something to me about me also. Also got me interested in startups. I was with my first startup in about 1968, I think it was.
My. Now, let me ask you, how long were you with IBM?
I was with IBM approximately, if I recall, 5 years.
You were there 5 years?
Yeah.
And then you went with this gentleman?
Right.
In the startup company?
Right.
How long were you there?
1 year. They went out of money. They ran out of money. They ran out of money. But an important lesson to learn, which I will certainly mention. See, I have this thing where you never fail, and you only fail if you think you fail.
Yes,
not
sir.
if everybody else thinks you fail.
Yes, sir.
And what happened to me is I discovered that the significance of going there was, although they ran out of money and I left and I was only there in a year and all that stuff, I then became a part of the startup community. They knew me. Part of the issues that we run into is until you get in that startup community,
yes.
people,
they don't know you.
No, they don't know you. And they turn, and these are folks just like, well, they don't look like me, but these are folks
just like
that
you.
go back, and for all pride, they were just like me. These were young engineers, older engineers that were starting companies, and they reach and get people they know.
Yeah.
And I got in that community, and as a result of that, I bounced around a few. I won't go through all those cases, but I bounced around a few times, you know, with a few companies here and there. But talking about failure, I left this company, was there for a year. I had been away from 4 years. The guy that started the company continued to run it very low level, continued with project we had worked on. At that time, they didn't incorporate, they formed partnerships, which meant I had a fixed percentage of the company. He sold the company. And by this time, I was at I was at HP. And had been at HP a couple of years, and I get a check in the mail that was sizable. And that let me know why people work in startups. It was nothing like people are making today, but it was a lot of money for Howard Smith then. And it was more than just a couple of $100,000. And that was a cash, it wasn't cash, it was stock in Continental Telephone. And I couldn't believe it. I could not believe it. I spent 1 year there, and my share was sizable. It was the biggest check I'd ever had.
That's good news. Now, generally, when we get to the good part of our discussion, we run out of time. So I want to make a quantum leap. Tell us something about Flickit, which is a company that you are the chief executive officer
Well,
of.
it's really interesting to go there. And let me, just before I go there, just make certain the audience understand, I'm a serial entrepreneur. They'll never meet anybody that's started more companies than I have, probably. And I have started just a few of them to mention just right quick, and then I'm going to get to Flickit. The reason I want to mention this is people don't get a chance. Enough people that look like you and I don't get a chance to see me, don't get a chance to see people like me. And I can tell you about other folks. I'm not the only one.
Yes.
But I started a company called Clarity Software, a company called, and all of these companies, almost all these companies I sold to somebody. Okay, but I started them and started the technology and built it from scratch. Clarity, Conference Objects, I have trouble even remembering View, what is it? Oh my God, Virtual View, and I could go down the list. I think it's about 5.
Yes.
About 5 of them that I started from scratch.
Yes.
Now let me get to Flickit. The interesting thing about Flickit, at this time I am 75 years old. Okay, and I'm still starting companies.
Mm-hmm.
And why do I do it? Because I love it.
Mm-hmm.
I love starting companies, but made it a little different with this one. I'm doing this with my sons. I have 2 sons. I have 4 kids, but the 2 sons are involved with me. And that is very, very exciting for me.
I know it is.
Okay. And what we have built is a way that you can email money to people. Email it. You send an email. All you folks out there that have email, if they'd like to see it work, they can send an email to me, which I think my email's on the site, or they can just send an email to money@Flickit, FLICKITT, 2 T's.com.
Send it to
Money@Flickit.com.
Money@Flickit, F-L-I-C-K.
FLITT, 2 T's. FLICKITT.
FLICKITT.com. And that information should be appearing on your screen.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
Okay. On the screen, I actually, my screw up, I gave them Howard@Flickit. You can also send it to Howard@Flickit.
Howard@Flickit. Excellent. Excellent.
Let me tell you why you want to do that, though. The best way for me to show you what Flickit is, you send me an email, and I will email to you $1 or some amount of money, $1 or less, I should probably say. We do that now, just so people can see how it works. Because we found a number of people are doing it now. You can email, and just like you send an email, nothing special about it. You send a normal email. If I was going to send an email to you, I would just type in, Reverend Knight, how you doing? Great. I'm sending you a $10 contribution to anything.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all I do. And I send it to you. And you will get the $10 in your account. Now, there's a lot behind the scenes, a lot of things that go on. That's why I want to send you $1. Something, the max of what will be $1.
Mm-hmm.
It just depends on the response. We've been getting a lot of response, so I'm starting to run out of dollars. Okay. But if somebody in your audience emailed me, I will email them $1. And they'll see how it works. Nobody else can do this. Very, very, and notice, you didn't do anything special. I didn't say that you'll see when you send it, but you just type an email. Normal way you type an email. There is something you do that I don't want to get into here. but you basically send an email, very simple, and you can send money, and you can send up to, I believe the tops we send is $2,500.
My.
And at the end of, it's right now just available in the U.S. By the end of the quarter, it'll be available in many countries outside the U.S. And then what can happen is if I'm sending it to Reverend Knight, and Reverend Knight is in Germany, and he wants his money in Dutch marks,
Wow,
we will automatically
you can do that.
convert from dollars to Dutch
Dutch
marks
mark.
when you get it.
Yes,
In Dutch marks.
yes.
To all the major currencies. I don't want to give the
Yes.
impression it's any currency, but it's major currency.
Major. And in Europe, it's primarily the euro and
Yeah.
that type of thing.
Yeah.
That is fantastic. And so this company is about a year old.
Yeah. It's about, we just starting to release the product, but we've been around, actually it's taken us a year and a half to develop.
To develop it.
Yeah, to develop the product. My son is, especially my oldest son, he is the vice president of marketing for the company. And we run it. My wife's involved, the whole family. So
It's a family affair.
You know how much money I spent doing this? There's a reason I wanted to bring this up. People call me all the time, lots of great ideas to start companies. And everybody get hung up because they don't have money, okay? I claim that if you want to do something good, you always spend a little money, but you don't spend as much as you think you need. If I can convince you that what I have is a good idea, you will 9 out of 10 times go to work for me and never ask for a dime. You would get your money on the other end. That's how people in Silicon Valley work. They go to work for companies. They work for very little money or no money until they start making money. I took my sons. They worked with me. We built the product. They now own a significant hunk of the company. And when we go public or sell, they'll get their money back. And they'll get a lot of money back.
Now, I'm glad that you stated this in front of all of the thousands that are watching this. I'm not boasting, I'm just hoping. And as our audience expands, simply because after the show, I'm going to give your information and give you my information. And I hope I can sell you on this idea.
Great.
For a startup that I want to do a startup. I want to do a startup. I had it ever since my son was in preschool. And I haven't really, I had one small start, but I haven't really launched it. And it's universal in its appeal.
I'm going to go even further. I want people that are thinking, see, I think the way we get control of our financial system
Talk to me
is
now.
by getting our businesses.
Talk to me.
And I have people call me. I get a couple of calls every week. I don't just get a few. I get a couple of calls every week with people that want to start companies, or they have ideas and things they want to get going. And I encourage it. I don't get too many that I can't do it. I wish I was getting so many that I don't get it. I can handle it. I'll give you all of the advice and insight I have to help you go. And I would love for you to contact me.
I'm gonna
and I would
contact
love
you.
for people in the audience. You see, let me expand on this because this is pretty close to my heart. I think the way to get control, I call it control of our financial environment, is doing 4 things.
I'm listening.
Number 1, starting businesses like you. You're the exact, you're perfect. I wish I could take a picture of this. You know, even your age, you're never too old. You can start it. You can always start it. You just have to you need the ability to be able to sell others. And it's not raising money all the time, it's getting cohorts. In many cases that you don't think bring enough to the party. But actually, it's interesting at what people do when they are committed. And I've seen it so many times. So first thing is starting business. But that's not the only thing. Everybody can't start businesses. Some people like to take the risk. Some people don't, for whatever reason. There's nothing wrong with that. But I claim there's 4 things that has to happen. Number 1, people starting businesses.
Starting business, number 1.
Number 2 is doing business with our people.
Number 2, keep it in the family, within the African-American family, with our people as much as possible.
Yeah. Oh, I don't mean I'll do business with anybody.
Yeah.
I didn't quite mean it that way.
No,
I meant what I meant by that was people in the community need to decide that they will do business with African-American, I say African-American and Hispanic businesses, because both suffer with getting folks getting people to getting crossover businesses is the way I think about it. And we have something that we say that we've been trying to get people to do, and that is commit to doing business with at least one Black or Hispanic business every month. Every month. Do something, some way with business. Because see, I want to get people like you to start businesses. Some will start businesses of all type. But you need customers. And the way people get a lot of customers is they go back to their home folks, if you will. And they can get business. And they can get business going. I want to see people make the commitment that every month, even if they have to go out of their way, they will do business with at least one business a month.
All right.
I personally go out of my way to get my CPA is a brother.
All right. Now let me ask you this, simply because I've just been notified. Give me, and I'm not cutting you off, that's I told you when we get to the good stuff, I have to wrap it up.
Right.
Give us number 3.
Oh, okay. Just to remind everybody, number 1, start businesses.
Yes.
With your friends and people you know, family. Number 2 is do business with people that
look like
that
you.
That look
now
like
give me
you.
3.
And number 3 is if you happen to be one of those folks that have a little cash, invest in those folks.
Invest.
If you ever night want to start a business,
invest. Now give me 4
in the
before they pull the plug on me.
And all of a sudden I had a blank. Let me say.
Okay, well, let me wrap this up.
Go ahead.
And I'm going to invite you back. That this is too good. This is a way to get you to tune in next time for number 4, for we're going to make billionaires. Thank you. This is Reverend McKnight saying until next time, so long.